Amaris Diallo thought $6 million was enough to buy her freedom. The divorce papers were signed, the wire transfer complete, and her 8-month marriage to Seoul's most dangerous man was officially over. She was free. Or so she believed. 3 weeks later, staring at 2 pink lines on a pregnancy test in her Paris bathroom, she realized something terrifying. You can't divorce your way out of carrying a crime lord's heir. And the people who wanted to destroy him? They already knew about the baby before she did. Before you keep listening, do me a quick favor. If you're getting hooked on this story, tap that like button. And if you want more stories that'll have you on the edge of your seat, hit subscribe. Trust me, you won't regret it. Now, back to Amaris, because things are about to get way more complicated. The notification came at exactly 3 p.m. Paris time. $6 million. Amaris stared at her phone screen, watching the numbers sit there like they were mocking her. The wire transfer was complete. Clean. Final. Just like the divorce papers she had signed 6 hours ago in that cold lawyer's office, where everyone spoke in whispers and looked at her like she was either very lucky or very stupid. She wasn't sure which one she was yet. 3 weeks later, she knew. The bathroom floor was cold against her knees. White tile, white walls, white everything. Amaris had chosen this apartment in Paris specifically because it looked like a reset, like nothing from her old life could follow her here. She was wrong. The pregnancy test sat on the edge of the sink, 2 pink lines screaming at her in a language she didn't want to understand. Her hands were steady when she picked it up. That was the thing about Amaris Diallo. She didn't shake. Not when she signed a marriage contract with a man she barely knew. Not when she lived in his house for 8 months, pretending her heart wasn't doing complicated things every time he walked into a room. Not when she signed the divorce papers. And not now. But inside? Inside, she was falling apart. "Okay," she said out loud to her reflection. "Okay. Think." Her phone buzzed. A message from her friend Claire. "Dinner tonight? You've been hiding in that apartment for 3 weeks. I'm staging an intervention." Amaris typed back quickly. "Rain check. Not feeling well." It wasn't a lie. She stood up, washed her hands, and walked to the kitchen like she was on autopilot. Coffee. She needed coffee. Then she remembered pregnant women weren't supposed to have too much caffeine, and laughed. A sharp, bitter sound that surprised her. "You're not keeping it," she told herself. "This isn't real. This isn't happening." But it was happening. She thought about Nam Hyun-jae, his face when he signed the divorce papers, completely blank, like he was signing off on a business deal, not ending a marriage. Which, to be fair, that's exactly what it was. A business deal. She was the product he needed for 8 months to satisfy his dying grandfather's ridiculous demand. Marry before you inherit. Traditional values, family legacy, all that nonsense. And she had been perfect for it. A foreign consultant, no ties to Korean power games, smart enough to play the part and wise enough to know when to exit. Except now there was this. Her hand moved to her stomach without permission. Nothing there yet. Just cells dividing, multiplying, becoming something that would ruin absolutely everything. The smart move was obvious. She had the money. She had her freedom. She could make this go away quietly, and no one would ever know. She opened her laptop. 2 hours later, Amaris had gone down a research rabbit hole that made her blood run cold. Korean inheritance law, traditional clan structures, blood succession rights. The words kept jumping out at her from different legal blogs and articles. Legitimate heirs born of legal marriage retained succession standing regardless of parental marital status. She read that line 4 times. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." A chat box popped up on her screen. An old colleague from Seoul, Min-soo, who she'd occasionally bounced legal questions off of. Min-soo, she typed. Hypothetical question. If someone married into a traditional Korean family structure, then divorced, but there was a child, what are the legal implications? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. That's a very specific hypothetical, Amaris. Just answer the question. Depends on the family. Some old organizations, especially ones with legacy wealth or, let's say, alternative business structures, they have internal laws, blood charters. A child born from a legal marriage can't be erased from succession lines, even if the marriage ends. Why are you asking? Amaris closed the laptop. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Korean area code. She stared at it for 3 rings before answering. Miss Diallo. A woman's voice. Professional. Cold. This is a courtesy call. You left something behind in Seoul. I don't think so. I was very thorough. Please check your hotel room. We've left a reminder. The line went dead. Amaris sat very still. She wasn't at a hotel. She was at her apartment. Unless her mind raced back. She had stayed at a hotel her first week in Paris before the apartment lease started. A nice place in the 6th arrondissement. She checked out 2 weeks ago. She called the hotel. Ah, Miss Diallo, the concierge said warmly. Yes, we have a package that was left for you. Arrived this morning. Would you like us to send it over? No, I'll come get it. The package was small. A hotel envelope, expensive paper. Amaris opened it in a cafe across the street, her coffee untouched in front of her. Inside was a photocopy of a medical document. Her medical document. From a clinic in Seoul she'd visited 2 months ago for a routine checkup. Someone had highlighted a note in the corner. Patient may be in early pregnancy. Recommend follow-up testing. She'd never gone back for that follow-up. Had dismissed it as a paperwork error because her period had been irregular from stress, and she'd been too busy playing the perfect wife to think about it. But someone else had thought about it. Underneath the medical document was a business card. No name, just a symbol she recognized from her time in Seoul, the Cheongpa Brotherhood, and written in neat handwriting on the back, Seoul is waiting. Amaris's hands were still steady when she pulled out her phone and booked a flight. 16 hours later, she walked through Incheon Airport with dark sunglasses and her hair pulled back, carrying only a small bag. She'd learned during her 8 months as Nam Hyun-jae's wife that the best way to move through Seoul unnoticed was to look like you belonged exactly where you were. Confident, purposeful, bored. She made it through customs and was heading toward the taxi stand when a black car pulled up. The back window rolled down. Secretary Yoon looked exactly the same as he had 3 weeks ago when he'd handed her the divorce settlement check. Tired eyes, expensive watch, the kind of face that gave nothing away. Miss Diallo, he said, this is unexpected. I didn't realize I needed to announce my travel plans. You don't. But getting into a random taxi when certain people know you're in Seoul seems unwise. Certain people like who? Get in the car and I'll tell you. Amaris considered her options for exactly 3 seconds, then opened the door and slid in. Yoon didn't look at her as the driver pulled away from the curb. Does he know you're here? Do you know why I'm here? I can guess. You received a message. More than a message. A threat. The Cheongpa Brotherhood doesn't make threats. They make promises. Amaris turned to look at him properly. What do they want? Right now? To see what you'll do. Later? That depends on several factors I think you're already aware of. Her hand moved to her stomach again. She caught herself and stopped. Yoon noticed. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. He doesn't know, Amaris said quietly. I'm aware. Are you going to tell him? That's not my decision to make, but hiding it won't work. Too many people already know. The question is how he finds out, and from who. The car was heading into Gangnam, familiar streets, familiar buildings. Amaris had spent 8 months learning this city, these patterns. She knew where they were going before the car turned onto the street. "I'm not going to the penthouse," she said. "You're going to headquarters. He's in a meeting. You'll wait in my office." "And if I don't want to see him?" Yoon finally looked at her. "Then why did you come back to Seoul?" She didn't have an answer for that. Namgung headquarters looked like every other corporate building in Gangnam. Glass, steel, minimalist design. The only difference was the security. Cameras everywhere. Men in dark suits who were definitely not regular office workers. An elevator that required 3 different clearances to reach the top floor. Amaris had been here exactly twice during her marriage, once for a formal dinner, once for a contract signing. Yoon led her through hallways that smelled like expensive air freshener and old money. His office was smaller than she expected, neat and organized, in a way that made her think he didn't spend much time there. "Wait here," he said. "I'll let him know you've arrived." "Don't." Yoon paused at the door. "I need information first," Amaris continued, "about the Cheongpa Brotherhood, why they're interested in me, what they really want." "You already know what they want. Say it anyway." Yoon was quiet for a long moment. "Nam Hyun-jae controls the largest organized network in Seoul, but control is fragile. It requires respect, fear, and legitimate succession. His grandfather's death triggered a transition period. The marriage to you satisfied the old man's requirements for inheritance, but it also started clocks ticking. Internal challenges, external threats. The Cheongpa have been waiting for an opening. And I'm the opening. A child would be, legitimate heir, foreign mother, messy succession question. It's the kind of chaos that could fracture everything he's built." Amaris felt cold. "So they'll come after the baby. They'll come after you. The baby is just leverage. Great, fantastic. Love that for me." Yoon almost smiled. Almost. "You have options. Name them. Option 1, disappear. We can arrange new identity, new city, new life. The payment you received is enough to start over anywhere in the world. And the Cheongpa would eventually lose interest if they can't find you and can't confirm the pregnancy. Eventually? What a comforting word. Option 2, stay. Tell him. Let him handle it." "By handle it, you mean what exactly?" Yoon's silence was answer enough. Amaris stood up and walked to the window. Seoul sprawled out below, millions of people living normal lives where their biggest problems were traffic and work deadlines, not criminal organizations and blood succession laws. "There's a third option," she said slowly. "I handle it myself. You're not equipped for that kind of handling. You'd be surprised what I'm equipped for." The door opened without a knock. Nam Hyun-jae walked in, and the entire energy of the room changed. Amaris had forgotten what it felt like to be in the same space as him, how he didn't need to raise his voice or make threats, how his presence just filled up all the air until you were breathing him in, whether you wanted to or not. He stopped when he saw her. For exactly 2 seconds, his carefully controlled expression cracked. Surprise, then something else she couldn't name, then back to blank. "You signed the papers," he said. His voice was exactly the same, low, even, no emotion. "I did," Amaris replied. "So why are you in my office?" "I have a complication." "Complications can be solved over the phone." "Not this one." Hyun-jae looked at Yoon. "Out." Yoon left without a word, closing the door behind him. Silence stretched between them like broken glass. Hyun-jae moved to his desk, but didn't sit. "What complication?" "The Cheongpa Brotherhood sent me a message in Paris. They know things about me, personal medical things, and they suggested I come back to Seoul." Something dangerous flickered across his face. "What things?" "That's not important right now. If the Cheongpa are involved, Everything is important. What do they know, Amaris? She hated how her name sounded in his voice, like he had rights to it. They have a copy of medical records from when I was here, from 2 months ago. And they're using it as leverage. Leverage for what? This was the moment. She could tell him. Put it all on the table. Let him take control like he always did, for better or worse. Or she could keep her cards close and play this her own way. I don't know yet, she lied. That's why I'm here. I need information about them, how they operate, what they want from you. Hyunjae studied her with those eyes that always saw too much. You're lying. Excuse me. You're lying to me right now. You know exactly what they want. You just don't want to tell me. Maybe I don't trust you. You married me. For money. Let's not romanticize it. He moved around the desk, closing the distance between them. Not touching, but close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. You came back to Seoul, he said quietly. You could have run anywhere in the world with $6 million and disappeared. But you came back here. To me. Why? Don't flatter yourself. Then explain it. Amaris's heart was doing that thing again, where it forgot how to beat normally. This was exactly why she'd left. Why she'd taken the money and run. Because being close to him made her stupid. I came back because running makes me a target, she said. And I'm done being afraid of men who think they can control me. I never tried to control you. You married me like I was a business acquisition. You agreed to be married like a business acquisition. For 8 months. The contract is over. Then why are you still here? Because your enemies made it my problem. Hyunjae's jaw tightened, the first real sign of emotion. Any enemy of mine was always going to be your problem. That's what marriage means. We're divorced? The paper doesn't change what happened. Nothing happened. Didn't it? The air between them was electric now. Dangerous. Amaris took a step back and bumped into the window. Trapped. I need your help with the Cheongpa, she said, forcing her voice to stay level. Then I'll leave again. That's all this is. Hyunjae looked at her for a long moment. Then he stepped back, giving her space to breathe again. You'll stay at the penthouse, he said. Absolutely not. It's the only secure location. I'll get a hotel, which the Cheongpa will know about within an hour. Don't be stupid, Amaris. Don't be controlling, Hyunjae. His name felt strange in her mouth. She'd barely said it during their marriage. It was always polite distance. Mr. Nam, or nothing at all. This isn't about control, he said. It's about keeping you alive long enough to figure out what game they're playing. And what if I don't want your protection? Then you shouldn't have come back to Seoul. He was right, and she hated it. Fine, she said. The penthouse. But I stay in the guest wing, and you leave me alone. Agreed. And I want full access to information about the Cheongpa. Everything you know. No. Then no deal. Hyunjae's eyes narrowed. You're not in a position to negotiate. I'm always in a position to negotiate. That's why you picked me, remember? Because I'm smart enough to play the game. A ghost of something that might have been respect crossed his face. I'll have Yoon prepare briefing files. Anything else? Yes. Who leaked my medical records? I'm working on that. Work faster. She moved toward the door, but his voice stopped her. Amaris, she turned. Whatever you're not telling me, he said quietly. I'll find out eventually. I always do. Then I guess we'll both have surprises waiting. She left before he could respond. Yoon was waiting in the hallway, somehow unsurprised by everything. The penthouse, Miss Diallo. Apparently I'm staying there, against my better judgment. Your judgment brought you back to Seoul. I think it's been compromised for a while. Amaris almost laughed. You're really bad at comforting people, you know that? Comfort isn't in my job description. The penthouse looked exactly the same. Amara stood in the entryway and felt 8 months of memories crash over her like a wave. The dining table where they'd eaten in silence, the living room where she'd read while he worked, the bedroom hallway where they'd said polite goodnights before retreating to separate spaces. A marriage that wasn't a marriage. A relationship that wasn't a relationship. Except sometimes, late at night, she'd hear him moving around in his room and wonder if he was thinking about her too. "Your room is prepared," Yoon said. "Same as before. Security codes haven't changed. Hyun-jae won't be back until late tonight. He has meetings." "Of course he does. The files you requested will be delivered within the hour. Is there anything else you need?" "A time machine would be great." Yoon's expression didn't change, but his eyes crinkled slightly. "I'll see what I can do." After he left, Amaris walked through the penthouse like a ghost, haunting her own past. Everything was clean, organized, untouched. Like the 8 months she'd lived here had been erased. She found herself in front of the master bedroom. The door was closed. "Don't open it," her brain said. Her hand was already on the handle. The room was dark, curtains drawn. She flipped the light switch. It looked different. The bed was made with different sheets. The photos that had been on the dresser, formal family portraits and business awards, were gone, replaced with nothing. The whole room felt emptier somehow. Amaris walked to the closet and opened it without thinking. His clothes, perfectly organized by color and type. And in the back corner, pushed to the side but not thrown away, was the dress she'd worn to their wedding reception. Traditional hanbok, deep blue silk, custom made. She'd only worn it once. Why did he still have it? Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Welcome back to Seoul. We should talk, alone, tomorrow night. Address attached. Come alone or don't come at all." The address was for a club in Itaewon, neutral territory. This was insane. Meeting with the Cheongpa alone was exactly the kind of stupid move that got people killed in this world. But it was also an opportunity to figure out what they really wanted before Hyun-jae tried to handle it his way. She typed back, "What time?" The response came immediately. "Midnight. Wear something forgettable." Amaris sat on the edge of Hyun-jae's bed and tried to think. Her hand went to her stomach again, that unconscious gesture that was becoming a habit. A baby. His baby. Growing inside her while she played spy games with criminal organizations. This was so far beyond what she'd signed up for. The files arrived an hour later, 3 thick folders marked with security classifications that made her raise her eyebrows. Yoon had actually given her top clearance information. She spread them across the dining table and started reading. The Cheongpa Brotherhood wasn't just a rival gang. They were old money, old power, old grudges. The kind of organization that thought in generations instead of quarters. And they'd been circling Hyun-jae's territory for years, waiting for weakness. His grandfather's death was the opening. The marriage had been a smart move to consolidate power quickly, but the divorce created questions, and questions created opportunities. There was a whole section on succession laws, blood charters, traditional inheritance structures that most modern Korean companies had abandoned, but criminal organizations clung to like religion. One paragraph made her stop breathing. Under Namgung Blood Charter, established 1792, any child born of the sitting head's legal marriage holds irrevocable succession standing, regardless of marriage status at time of birth. This law has never been successfully challenged. 1792. Over 200 years of tradition saying her baby belonged to this world, whether she wanted it to or not. "No," she whispered. "Absolutely not." She kept reading, looking for loopholes, exceptions, anything. The front door opened. Amaris looked up, startled. It was barely 8 p.m. Hyun-jae wasn't supposed to be back until late. He walked in and stopped when he saw her surrounded by classified documents, looking exactly like she was planning something. "Productive evening?" he asked. "Very. Your filing system is surprisingly well organized." "That's Yoon's doing." He set his bag down and loosened his tie, the first casual gesture she'd seen from him in weeks. "Found what you were looking for?" "Found more questions than answers." He walked to the kitchen and poured himself water. Drank it. The silence stretched. "There's food if you're hungry," he said without looking at her. "I had the housekeeper stock the fridge. I'm fine. You need to eat." "I'm capable of feeding myself, thanks." He turned to face her. "Why are you angry?" "I'm not angry." "You've been angry since you walked into my office this afternoon. Either at me or at the situation, I can't tell which." "Maybe both." "Fair enough." He moved to the living room and sat down, close enough to see the files, but not close enough to crowd her. It was deliberate. Hyun-jae didn't do anything by accident. "The Cheongpa made contact again," Amaris said. "Not a question." "How did you know?" "Because you came home early. You're worried." His expression didn't change. "I'm always worried. It's part of the job." "This is different." "Yes, just that. Yes." No elaboration. Amaris closed the file she was reading. "They want to meet with me tomorrow night." Hyun-jae went very still. "You told them no." "I told them I'd think about it." "Amaris, I need to know what they want." "They want leverage against me." "You're the leverage. It's not complicated." "Then let me talk to them. Figure out what they know, what they're really planning." "Absolutely not. You don't get to make that decision." Hyun-jae stood up, tension rolling off him in waves. "You walk into a meeting with the Cheongpa alone, and you won't walk back out. Is that clear enough for you?" "I'm not stupid. I'll take precautions." "There are no precautions against people like that. They'll take what they want and dispose of what they don't need." "Like you did with me?" The words came out sharper than she intended. Hyun-jae looked like she'd slapped him. "That was different," he said quietly. "How?" "You needed a wife. You bought one. Contract fulfilled. Payment delivered. Everyone goes home happy." "Is that what you think happened?" "That's exactly what happened." "Then you weren't paying attention." Amaris stood up too, papers scattering. "What's that supposed to mean?" Hyun-jae closed the distance between them in 3 steps, close enough that she could see the pulse in his neck, the slight tightness around his eyes that meant he was holding back something big. "It means," he said, voice low and controlled, "that the divorce was the hardest thing I've done in 10 years, and if you think I signed those papers easily, then you don't know me at all." The air left her lungs. "Why are you telling me this?" she whispered. "Because you came back. Because you're standing in my house reading classified files and planning to do something dangerous and stupid. Because I need you to understand that protecting you isn't just strategy." "Then what is it?" He looked at her like he was trying to memorize her face. "I don't know. That's the problem." Her heart was a drum against her ribs. This wasn't supposed to happen. They had rules, boundaries, a clean exit. "Hyun-jae," she started. "Don't," he said. "Whatever you're about to say, don't. Not yet." He stepped back, putting safe distance between them again. "You're not meeting with the Cheongpa alone," he continued, back to business. "If you want information from them, we do it my way. Controlled environment, security present, non-negotiable. And if I do it anyway, then I'll have you followed and pulled out before you get within a block of whatever location they sent you. That's controlling. That's caring whether you live or die. Learn the difference." He walked to his bedroom and closed the door. Amaris stood in the living room, surrounded by files about blood charters and succession laws and criminal empires, with a secret growing inside her that would change absolutely everything. and for the first time since seeing those 2 pink lines in Paris, she had no idea what to do next. Amaris didn't sleep that night. She lay in the guest room bed, the same bed she'd slept in for 8 months, staring at the ceiling and running calculations in her head. Every option led to a dead end. Every solution created 3 new problems. At 2 a.m., she heard Hyun-jae moving around in the kitchen. Footsteps, cabinet opening, water running. He couldn't sleep either. She stayed in her room. At 6 a.m., she gave up on sleep entirely and took a shower. When she came out, there was coffee waiting on the kitchen counter, still hot, and a note in Hyun-jae's precise handwriting. Meeting at 9. Yoon will brief you. Don't leave the building. No signature, no pleasantries. Back to business. Amaris drank the coffee even though she probably shouldn't, and tried not to think about how he'd remembered exactly how she took it. 2 sugars. No cream. Yoon arrived at 8:30 with a tablet, and the kind of expression that meant bad news was coming. The Cheongpa made their move, he said without preamble. 3 of our shipping containers were seized by customs this morning. Anonymous tip. Very detailed, very accurate. They're showing strength. They're showing they have inside information, which means the leak is still active. Amaris set down her coffee cup carefully. You have a mole. We have a problem. Hyun-jae is handling it. By handling it, you mean what exactly? Yoon gave her a look that said she didn't really want to know the answer. The meeting at 9 is with our legal team and security advisors. You should be there. Why? Because Hyun-jae requested it. I'm not part of this organization anymore. You came back to Seoul. That made you part of it again, whether you signed paperwork or not. He wasn't wrong. The meeting room was all glass walls and leather chairs. 6 people were already seated when Amaris walked in. She recognized 2 of them from her time as Hyun-jae's wife. The head of security, Jin Woo, built like he could break someone in half without trying. And the legal advisor, Ms. Kang, who had eyes like a hawk and missed nothing. The others were new, or maybe just people she'd never been important enough to meet before. Hyun-jae sat at the head of the table, perfectly composed. He didn't look at her when she entered, just gestured to an empty chair. Now that everyone's here, he said, let's begin. Jin Woo, status update. Jin Woo pulled up a screen showing surveillance footage. The customs raid was coordinated. 4 locations hit simultaneously. They knew exactly which containers to flag and what they'd find inside. How much did we lose? Monetarily, about 2 million. Operationally, our shipping route to Busan is compromised for at least 3 months. One of the men Amaris didn't recognize spoke up. We need to respond. Show the Cheongpa this won't be tolerated. We need to find the leak first, Ms. Kang cut in. Responding without knowing who's feeding them information is exactly what they want. Chaos benefits them right now. How many people had access to those shipping schedules? Hyun-jae asked. Internally? 15. But the information was accessible to anyone with executive clearance. So, half the organization. Essentially, yes. Hyun-jae's jaw tightened slightly, the only tell that he was furious. Amaris had been quiet up until now, listening, processing. But something about the shipping schedules was bothering her. She'd spent 8 months reviewing Namgung financial documents. She knew their systems. Can I see the customs report? She asked. Everyone turned to look at her, like they'd forgotten she was there. Ms. Kang slid a tablet across the table. Amaris scanned the documents quickly, her financial analyst brain automatically sorting information. These tips weren't just detailed, she said slowly. They were formatted. Look at the timestamp coding. This came from someone using your internal reporting software. Jin Woo leaned forward. You're sure? I'm sure. I built templates in this exact system when I was reviewing operational efficiency last year. See this reference number format? That's auto-generated. Someone pulled this directly from your database and sent it to customs. The room went very quiet. That narrows it down, Yoon said. Only 7 people have database admin access. Hyun-jae's expression was carved from ice. Get me their activity logs for the last month, everything. And Ms. Kang, I want background checks redone on all 7. Financial records, communications, travel. Find the crack. Sir, Jin Woo said carefully. All 7 of those people have been with us for years. Some over a decade. Then one of them has been very patient, or very desperate. I don't care which. Find them. The meeting continued for another hour. Strategies and contingencies and security protocols. Amaris contributed where she could, her financial expertise actually useful for once. She'd forgotten what it felt like to use her brain like this. The marriage had been comfortable, but intellectually empty. This was different. This was the game she was good at. When the meeting finally ended, people filed out until it was just Hyun-jae, Yoon, and Amaris left in the room. That was helpful, Hyun-jae said, still not quite looking at her. Thank you. You're welcome. I mean it. The timestamp catch. That's the first real lead we've had. Amaris gathered her things. I'm good at finding patterns. It's what you hired me for originally, remember? I remember. The weight in those 2 words made her pause. Yoon cleared his throat. I'll have those activity logs ready within the hour. Amaris, you should review them as well. Fresh eyes might catch something we've missed. Agreed, Hyun-jae said. You'll work from my office, more secure. I can work from the penthouse. My office. Non-negotiable. There was that word again. Non-negotiable. Like he could just decide things for her. Fine, she said. But I need my own workspace. I'm not sitting in the corner like a decoration. There's a conference table. Use that. Great. Wonderful. This will be fun. Yoon excused himself, probably to escape the tension that was thick enough to cut. Amaris started to follow, but Hyun-jae's voice stopped her. The Cheongpa meeting. You didn't agree to cancel it. She turned. I didn't agree to anything. Amaris. I'm thinking about it. Think faster. They'll want an answer soon. Then they can wait. I'm busy helping you find your mole. She left before he could respond. Working in Hyun-jae's office was exactly as awkward as expected. He sat at his desk, fielding calls and reviewing documents, while Amaris spread activity logs across the conference table, color-coding and cross-referencing. They didn't speak unless necessary. Do you have access to financial transfers from March? She asked at one point. Yoon can get those. What are you looking for? Pattern matching. If someone's being paid off, there'll be unusual deposits or expenditures. He made a call. 10 minutes later, the files appeared on her tablet. Thank you, she said. Another hour passed. Amaris's eyes were starting to hurt from staring at spreadsheets when she found it. Got you, she whispered. Hyun-jae looked up. What? Look at this. She pulled up 2 screens side by side. Database access from user 7, timestamp March 15th. Pulled shipping schedules. Then look at this. Same user, different system. Accessed personnel files for security team assignments. They were checking guard rotations. Exactly. And here, 2 days later, external email sent from a personal account. The file size matches the data they pulled. Who is user 7? Amaris checked the admin list and her stomach dropped. It's Yoon. The silence that followed was deafening. Hyun-jae stood up slowly and walked over to look at the screen himself. Studied it. Checked the timestamps. Verified the user ID. His face was absolutely blank. That's not possible, he said quietly. The data doesn't lie. Yoon has been with me for 12 years. He's family. Family betrays people all the time, especially in this world. Hyun-jae's hands curled into fists. the only outward sign of emotion. There has to be another explanation. Maybe his account was compromised. Maybe. But they both knew that was unlikely. The security on these systems was too tight. "What do you want to do?" Amaris asked carefully. "I want to break something, but that won't help." He pulled out his phone. "Jin Woo, my office. Now. And bring Ms. Kang." "Hyunjae, if Yoon is the leak, he can't know we're onto him. I know how to handle this." "Do you? Because you look like you're about to burn the building down." He looked at her then, really looked at her, and she saw something crack in his expression. Pain. Real, human pain. "He was at my father's funeral," Hyunjae said quietly. "He helped me through the transition. He's the only person in this organization I thought I could trust completely. I'm sorry." "Don't be. You just saved us from bleeding out slowly. If it's him, if he's been feeding information to the Chongpa, he's been doing it for months, maybe longer." Jin Woo and Ms. Kang arrived within minutes. Hyunjae showed them the evidence, watched their faces change from confusion to shock to anger. "We need to confront him," Jin Woo said. "Carefully. If he spooks, we lose any chance of finding out who he's working with on their side." "Agreed," Ms. Kang added. "This needs to be controlled. Quiet." Hyunjae nodded. "Bring him in. Tell him it's a routine security briefing. Amaris, you should leave." "No. This isn't your fight. You just spent 2 hours letting me help find him. I'm not leaving now. It could get dangerous. Then I'll stay dangerous too." Something flickered in his eyes that might have been pride or concern, maybe both. "Fine. But you stay behind me. If anything goes wrong, Jin Woo gets you out. Understood?" "Understood." 20 minutes later, Yoon walked into the office looking tired but unsuspicious. "You called for me?" Hyunjae was standing by the window, back to the room. "Close the door." Yoon did. Noticed Amaris, Jin Woo, and Ms. Kang all present. His expression shifted slightly. Wary now. "What's this about?" Hyunjae turned around. "I need you to explain something to me." "Of course." "Why did you access shipping schedules and security rotations on March 15th and send them to an external email address 2 days later?" I'm going to pause right here for just a second. If you're as hooked on this drama as I think you are, do me a favor and drop a comment telling me what you think Yoon's going to say. Is he guilty? Is he being framed? Let me know your theories below. All right, back to this confrontation, because it's about to get intense. Yoon went very still. "I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me." Hyunjae's voice was soft, dangerous. "We have the activity logs, your user ID, timestamps, everything." "Then the logs are wrong. Are they? Or have you been selling information to the Cheongpa for months while pretending to be loyal?" "Hyunjae, I would never. You have to believe me." "Show me your personal email account." "What?" "Your phone. Email. Now. If you're innocent, prove it." Yoon's hand moved toward his pocket. Jin Woo tensed, ready to intervene. But Yoon just pulled out his phone and handed it over. "Look, you won't find anything because I didn't do this." Ms. Kang took the phone and connected it to her tablet, running diagnostics. Her frown deepened as she worked. "The email account listed in the logs doesn't exist on this device," she said slowly. "And the login patterns don't match. Someone cloned his credentials." Hyunjae's expression shifted. "You're sure?" "Positive. Look at this. The external email was sent at 2:17 a.m. According to his phone's location data, Yoon was at home. But the IP address of the email sender traces to a coffee shop in Itaewon." "Someone stole my access codes," Yoon said, voice shaking slightly. "Set me up to take the fall." "Who has access to your passwords?" Jin Woo demanded. "No one. I change them monthly, use secure generation protocols, everything by the book." Then how did someone clone your credentials? Amaris asked. Everyone looked at her. What if they didn't steal the passwords? She continued, thinking out loud. What if they replicated his login session? There are programs that can mirror admin access if you have physical proximity to the original user's device, even just a few minutes. Ms. Kang's eyes widened. She's right. If someone installed monitoring software on a shared network, they could capture session tokens when Yoon logged in, use those tokens to access the system as him without needing the actual password. Who has physical access to your devices? Hyunjae asked. Yoon thought for a moment. During work hours, dozens of people. My office isn't locked. I step out from meetings constantly. We need to check for monitoring software. All devices, all offices. Hyunjae looked at Yoon properly for the first time since the confrontation started. I'm sorry. I should have verified before accusing you. Yoon let out a breath. You were protecting the organization. I understand. That doesn't make it right. The apology hung in the air. Amaris watched the exchange and realized this was as close to emotional vulnerability as Hyunjae probably ever got. Admitting fault. Showing regret. We have a bigger problem now, Jinwoo said. If the real mole knows we're looking at activity logs, they'll go dark. We'll lose our chance to catch them. Unless we use this, Amaris said. Let them think we suspect Yoon. Set a trap. Hyunjae turned to her. Explain. Feed false information through Yoon's account. Something tempting enough that the Cheongpa will act on it. When they do, we'll know the information traveled from here to them, and we can trace the real path. That puts Yoon at risk, Ms. Kang pointed out. If the Cheongpa think he's a double agent, they'll handle him. Not if we're careful about what we feed them, Amaris countered. Make it look like Yoon is still useful but getting sloppy. Plant information that seems valuable, but is actually controlled. When the Cheongpa move on it, we'll be ready. Hyunjae studied her with an expression she couldn't read. You've thought about this. I've had a lot of time to think about how these organizations work. 8 months, in fact. A ghost of something that might have been a smile touched his face. Ms. Kang, work with Amaris on the false intelligence package. Make it convincing. Jinwoo, sweep for monitoring software, but do it quietly. I don't want anyone knowing we're looking. Yoon, you're going to act like nothing happened. Business as usual. Understood, Yoon said. He looked at Amaris. Thank you for finding the discrepancy. Thank you for not actually being a traitor. That would have been really inconvenient. This time, Yoon did smile. Slightly. Everyone filed out except Amaris and Hyunjae. She started gathering her things, but his voice stopped her. That was impressive, he said. The trap idea, and the session token theory. I read a lot of cybersecurity briefs when I'm bored. You're never bored. Your brain doesn't know how to be bored. It was such a specific observation, the kind of thing you only noticed about someone if you'd been paying very close attention. You're not what I expected, Amaris said before she could stop herself. What did you expect? Someone colder, more calculating, less human. Disappointed? Confused. He moved closer, not crowding, just closing distance. About what? About why you let me go so easily. If I was important enough to marry, why wasn't I important enough to keep? The question had been sitting in her chest for 3 weeks, since she signed the divorce papers and waited for him to say something, anything, to make her stay. He never did. Hyunjae was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful, measured. You were never supposed to be permanent. The contract was clear. 8 months, then freedom. I wasn't going to trap you in a life you didn't choose. What if I wanted to choose it? Did you? Amaris opened her mouth, closed it. Because 3 weeks ago she didn't know the answer. She'd been so focused on escape, on getting back to her real life, that she'd never stop to ask if leaving was what she actually wanted. "I don't know," she admitted. "I was afraid to ask." "Of what?" "Of you saying yes. Of me saying yes. Of all of this becoming real instead of just a transaction I could walk away from." Hyun-jae's expression softened in a way she'd never seen before. "And now? Is it still just a transaction?" Her hand moved to her stomach. That unconscious gesture she couldn't seem to stop. Hyun-jae's eyes followed the movement. Stopped. His whole body went still. "Amaris," he said slowly. "Why does your hand keep doing that?" Panic flooded through her. She dropped her hand immediately. "Doing what?" "You've done it 6 times since yesterday. Every time you're stressed or thinking hard, your hand goes to your stomach." It's just a nervous habit." "You didn't have that habit during our marriage. Maybe I developed it. Or maybe there's a reason for it." He was looking at her like he could see straight through every wall she'd built, like all her careful hiding was pointless. "The medical records," he continued, voice deadly quiet. "The ones the Cheongpa have. What did they say?" "Nothing important. Amaris. It's nothing. If it was nothing, you wouldn't have come back to Seoul. If it was nothing, the Cheongpa wouldn't care. If it was nothing, you wouldn't be standing in my office lying to my face. I'm not lying." "Then tell me the truth." "I can't." "Why not?" "Because everything will change. It's already changed. You're here. In my city. My building. My life again. Whatever you're hiding, I'll find out eventually. You said so yourself." Amaris felt tears threatening and absolutely refused to let them fall. She was not going to cry. Not here. Not now. "I need time," she said, "to figure out what I'm doing, what I want. You can't just demand answers because you're used to people obeying you." "I'm not demanding. I'm asking. It feels the same." "Then I'm doing it wrong." He stepped back, giving her space. The gesture was so unexpected, so contrary to everything she knew about him, that it hurt. "Take your time," he said quietly. "But Amaris, whatever you're dealing with, you don't have to deal with it alone. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You came back here for a reason. Let me help." "What if I don't want help? What if I just want to handle this myself and leave again when it's done? Then I'll let you leave, but I won't watch you put yourself in danger without trying to protect you first." "Even if I don't want protection?" "Especially then." The phone on his desk rang. Hyun-jae ignored it. It rang again. "You should get that," Amaris said. "It can wait." "I'm going back to the penthouse. I need to clear my head." "Jin-woo will drive you. I can take a cab." "Amaris, please, just let me make sure you're safe. That's all I'm asking." The please did something to her chest. Hyun-jae didn't say please, didn't ask, didn't show weakness. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." She left his office feeling like she'd just survived something, the emotional equivalent of a hurricane. Jin-woo was waiting outside, professional and silent. The drive back to the penthouse took 15 minutes through Seoul traffic. Amaris watched the city pass by and thought about choices, about consequences, about a baby growing inside her that belonged to 2 worlds and would fit perfectly in neither. Her phone buzzed. The Cheongpa contact. "Decision time. Midnight tonight. Last chance." She stared at the message for 3 blocks, then typed back, "I'll be there." Jin-woo pulled up to the penthouse building, walked her to the elevator, waited until she was safely inside before leaving. Amaris rode up 30 floors and tried to make a plan. She had 16 hours until midnight. 16 hours to figure out how to meet with a criminal organization, get the information she needed, and not end up dead in an alley somewhere. The penthouse was empty. Quiet. She poured herself water and stood at the window watching Seoul glitter in the afternoon sun. A memory surfaced. 2 months ago, standing at this same window with Hyun-jae beside her. Rare moment of shared space. He'd pointed out different neighborhoods, told her stories about growing up in this city. She'd listened and thought, I could get used to this. I could get used to him. Then crushed the thought immediately, because that wasn't the deal. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Korean. She answered. Yes? Miss Diallo. A woman's voice. Smooth. Cultured. My name is Hai-jin. I'm calling on behalf of the Cheongpa leadership to confirm tonight's meeting. I'll be there. Excellent. Some ground rules. Come alone. No weapons, no recording devices. We'll have security sweep you at the door. Understood. And Miss Diallo? We know about your condition. That's not a threat. Just so we're clear on what's being discussed tonight. The line went dead. Amaris sat down hard on the couch. They knew. Of course they knew. They probably knew before she did. This meeting was either the smartest or stupidest thing she'd ever done. She wasn't sure which yet. The front door opened. Hyun-jae walked in, earlier than expected again. He stopped when he saw her face. What happened? Nothing. You're white as paper. What happened? Amaris made a split-second decision, the kind that would either save her or destroy everything. I'm meeting with the Cheongpa tonight, she said. And before you start, I've already decided. I'm going. The expression that crossed Hyun-jae's face was pure fury. No, he said flatly. Absolutely not. It's not your choice. Like hell it's not. You walk into that meeting and you're putting yourself directly in their hands. I'll be in public, a club, witnesses everywhere. You'll be surrounded by their people in their territory, with no backup. That's not safety. That's a coffin. I can handle this. You can't. He crossed the room in 3 strides, invaded her space completely. You're brilliant and brave and absolutely out of your mind if you think I'm letting you do this. Letting me? I don't need your permission. Then you need common sense, which you seem to have lost. They were almost nose to nose now, close enough that she could feel the heat coming off him, close enough that her heart was doing that stupid racing thing again. Why do you even care? She demanded. We're divorced. I'm not your responsibility. You are absolutely my responsibility. You came back to Seoul because of me, because of threats connected to me. That makes you mine to protect. I'm not yours. I was never yours. Weren't you? The question hung between them like a live wire. The marriage wasn't real, Amaris said, but her voice shook. Wasn't it? Because it felt pretty real to me. Every dinner, every conversation, every time I came home and you were there. That felt real. You never said anything. Because you made it very clear you didn't want real. You wanted the contract, the terms, the clean exit. So did you? I thought I did. Then you left, and I realized I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. Amaris couldn't breathe. Don't do this. Don't do what? Tell you the truth? That I signed those divorce papers because I thought it's what you wanted, not because I wanted you gone. Stop! That I've spent 3 weeks trying to convince myself it was the right decision while knowing it absolutely wasn't? Hyun-jae, please stop. Tell me you felt nothing during those 8 months. Tell me it was just business to you and I'll stop. She couldn't. The lie wouldn't come. That's what I thought, he said quietly. He stepped back, ran a hand through his hair, the most disheveled she'd ever seen him. You're not going to that meeting, he said. I'll have Jin Woo lock down the building if I have to. You wouldn't. Test me. Amaris stood up. This is exactly why I left, because you think you can control everything, including me. But I'm not one of your subordinates. I make my own choices. Even if those choices get you killed, even then, it's my life. And what about the baby's life? The words detonated between them like a bomb. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. Hyunjae's face went through 6 emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, disbelief, understanding, and something else she couldn't name. "What did you just say?" Amaris whispered. He looked at her stomach, then at her face. "You're pregnant." It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Like he'd just solved the last piece of a puzzle that had been driving him crazy. Amaris felt everything inside her go cold and hot at the same time. "How did you?" "The hand thing. The nausea I noticed yesterday morning that you tried to hide. The medical records the Cheongpa have. The reason you came back instead of disappearing." His eyes were locked on hers. "How long have you known?" "That's not your business. It's my child. That makes it absolutely my business." "Is it though? We were already separated when I found out. The divorce was signed. You paid me to leave. I paid you the settlement we agreed on. That's different than paying you to leave." "Sounds the same to me." Hyunjae looked like he wanted to put his fist through a wall. "How far along?" "I'm not discussing this with you right now." "Amaris, so help me. If you don't start giving me real answers, I'm going to lose my mind." "Then lose it. I don't owe you explanations. You're carrying my baby and meeting with the Cheongpa tonight. I think you owe me several explanations." She stood up. Needed to move. Needed space. "This is exactly why I didn't tell you. Because you're acting like you own this situation. Like you own me. I'm acting like someone who just found out the woman he cares about is pregnant and walking into danger. Forgive me for having feelings about that." "You don't get to have feelings about this. You signed away the right to feelings when you handed me divorce papers." "I signed papers. I didn't sign away 9 months of marriage that actually mattered." 8 months! And it was a contract. It was a marriage. Legal, binding, real. We lived together. Ate together. Talked until 2 in the morning about everything and nothing. You can call it a contract all you want, but that doesn't change what it actually was. Amaris's throat was tight. What was it then? The best 8 months I've had in 10 years, and I was too much of a coward to tell you that before you left. She couldn't do this. Couldn't have this conversation while her entire world was falling apart. "I need air," she said. "You need to stay here where it's safe. I need you to stop telling me what I need." She grabbed her bag and headed for the door. Hyunjae moved to block her path. "Move," she said. "Not until you promise me you're not going to that meeting." "I can't promise that." "Then I can't move." They stood there, locked in a stalemate. Amaris could see the tension in every line of his body, the fear he was trying to hide behind anger. "Why does this matter so much to you?" she asked quietly. "Really? The truth?" Hyunjae's jaw worked. "Because I already lost you once. I'm not doing it again. You didn't lose me. You let me go. Worst decision I ever made. Then why did you make it? Because you deserved better than this life. Better than me." The confession hung in the air between them, raw and honest and completely unexpected. "That's not your choice to make," Amaris said. "What I deserve, what I want. That's mine to decide. Then decide, right now. Tell me what you want." "I want to not be pregnant with a criminal empire heir while 2 organizations fight over my baby like it's property. I want to go back to 3 weeks ago when my biggest problem was finding an apartment in Paris. I want things to be simple again. Simple doesn't exist anymore. We're way past simple. I know." She felt tears threatening again and blinked them back furiously. "I know, and I hate it, and I don't know what to do." Something in Hyunjae's expression cracked. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and when she didn't, he pulled her into his chest. Amaris went stiff for exactly 2 seconds, then collapsed into him. She didn't cry, wouldn't let herself. But she let him hold her while she tried to remember how to breathe normally. "I'm scared," she whispered into his shirt. "I know. I don't know how to do this, any of this." "Neither do I, but we'll figure it out." "We? You think I'm letting you handle this alone, after everything?" She pulled back enough to look at him. "You can't just decide to be involved. This is complicated. I specialize in complicated. Hyun-jae, I'm serious. A baby changes everything. The blood charter, the succession laws, your enemies. Our child would be born into the middle of a war. Then we end the war before the baby arrives. It's not that simple. It never is. But I've built an empire on solving impossible problems. This is just one more." Amaris wanted to believe him, wanted to think they could actually navigate this disaster together. "The Cheongpa," she said. "They know about the pregnancy. They called it my condition. This meeting tonight, that's what they want to discuss." Hyun-jae's arms tightened around her. "What do they want exactly?" "I don't know yet. That's why I need to go." "No." "Hyun-jae, I said no, but I have a different idea." He pulled out his phone and made a call. "Jin-woo, I need a full security team ready in 2 hours. Undercover setup, and get me building schematics for Club Azure in Itaewon." He hung up and looked at Amaris. "You want to meet with them?" "Fine, but we do it smart. My people will be in that club before you arrive. Surveillance, backup, extraction plan if things go wrong. You wear a wire, you stay in public view, and at the first sign of trouble, you walk out. They said to come alone. You will look alone. That's different than being alone." Amaris considered it. "You're really going to let me do this? I'm really going to make sure you survive doing this. There's a difference. You're manipulative, you know that?" "I prefer strategically protective. Sounds better." Despite everything, she almost smiled. "This is a terrible idea. Most of my best ideas are terrible at first. That doesn't inspire confidence. Good thing confidence isn't what you need right now. You need a plan, and I'm very good at plans." 6 hours later, Amaris was wearing a dress she'd bought specifically for tonight. Simple, black, forgettable. Exactly what they'd asked for. The wire was so small she could barely feel it, hidden in her necklace, courtesy of Jin-woo's security tech. Hyun-jae had wanted to come with her. She'd absolutely refused. This was already risky enough without him hovering. "You stay on comms the entire time," he said for the 15th time. "Any trouble, any sign something's wrong, Jin-woo pulls you out." "I know the plan. I'm serious, Amaris. These people are not your friends. They don't care about you or the baby except as leverage." "I know. And if they try anything, I'll handle it. I'm not helpless." "I know you're not. That's not what scares me." She looked at him. Really looked. Saw the fear he was trying to hide behind tactical planning and security protocols. "I'll be careful," she said softly. "I promise." "You better be. Because if something happens to you, I'll burn their entire organization to the ground." That's very romantic in a terrifying crime boss kind of way. "I'm not trying to be romantic. I'm trying to keep you alive." "Could be both." His expression shifted, softened. "When this is over, when you're safe, we're going to have a very long conversation about us. About what happens next. About everything. I look forward to it. Or dread it. Haven't decided which yet. Probably both." The car was waiting. Jin-woo in the driver's seat. 2 other security personnel she didn't recognize in a follow vehicle. Hyun-jae walked her down, stopped before she got in. "Amaris." "Yeah? Come back to me. Please." The please again. Breaking her heart in the best worst way. "I will." She got in the car before she could change her mind. Club Azure was exactly what she expected. Loud music, dim lights, beautiful people drinking expensive alcohol and pretending their lives were more interesting than they actually were. Amaris walked in at exactly midnight. A man in a suit appeared immediately. "Miss Diallo, this way." He led her past the main floor to a private section in the back, separated by frosted glass, quieter, exclusive. A woman sat at a corner table, mid-40s, elegant, dangerous in the way that expensive things were dangerous. "Miss Diallo," she said warmly, "I'm Hai Jin. Please, sit." Amaris sat, kept her hands visible, her expression neutral. "Can I offer you a drink?" "Oh, wait, that's right. Your condition." "Water, perhaps." "I'm fine." "Straight to business, then. I appreciate efficiency." Hai Jin leaned back in her chair. "You're probably wondering why we asked you here. I'm wondering why you're interested in my personal medical history. Because your personal medical history became very relevant to our interests the moment we learned about it." "And how did you learn about it? Who gave you my records?" Hai Jin smiled. "That's the question, isn't it? Who in Nam Hyun-jae's organization is tired enough of his control to help us instead?" So they were admitting to having inside information. Good. That confirmed the mole was real and active. "What do you want?" Amaris asked. "Want is such a strong word. Let's say propose. We propose a mutually beneficial arrangement." "I'm listening." "You're carrying the heir to the Namgung organization. Under their blood charter, that child has succession rights, which means you have leverage, significant leverage. Leverage for what? For ensuring your child's future, and yours." Hai Jin pulled out a tablet, slid it across the table. "This is a legal document, drafted by very expensive lawyers. It would grant you full custody and remove all succession obligations from your child. In exchange, you provide us with certain information about Namgung operations." Amaris looked at the document without touching it. "You want me to spy for you? We want you to protect your child from being used as a pawn in power games that have nothing to do with you. By becoming your pawn instead. By taking control of your own situation. And if I refuse?" Hai Jin's smile didn't waver. "Then your child will be born into a very complicated world. Namgung will claim succession rights. We'll challenge those rights. The whole thing will end up in internal council courts that could take years. During which time, your child will be the center of a war they didn't ask for." It was a threat dressed up as concern. Classic manipulation. "Let me ask you something," Amaris said. "What happens to Hyun-jae if I give you information?" "That depends on the information. But ultimately, you want him removed from power. We want the Namgung organization restructured. Leadership change is part of that. So you want me to betray him, help you destroy everything he's built, and in exchange, you'll let me and my baby disappear quietly. We want you to choose your child over a man who married you as a business transaction. And if I choose both?" Hai Jin's expression flickered, just slightly. "That's not an option we're offering." "Then we don't have a deal." "Miss Diallo, you're not understanding the situation you're in." "No, I understand perfectly. You need me to weaken Hyun-jae because you can't do it alone, which means you're not as powerful as you want me to believe, and threatening a pregnant woman shows you're desperate. Before this story ends, I need to know you're still with me. If you've made it this far, you're clearly invested in what happens to Amaris and Hyun-jae. So here's what I need from you. Hit that subscribe button because we're building something special on this channel. Stories that actually matter. Characters you care about. And if this one's got you feeling some type of way, wait until you see what's coming next. Now let's finish this, because Amaris is about to make a move that changes everything. Hai Jin's friendly mask slipped. Careful, Miss Diallo. You're in our territory. In a public club, with witnesses, security cameras. You're not going to do anything to me here. There are other places, other times. Is that a threat? It's a reality check. Amaris leaned forward. Here's my reality check. I don't work for you. I don't work for Hyun-jae. I work for myself and my child. So whatever game you're playing, find a different player. She stood up. Hae-jin's hand shot out and grabbed her wrist. You're making a mistake. Wouldn't be my first. Probably won't be my last. Amaris pulled her hand free and walked out. Her heart was pounding, but she kept her pace steady, confident. She made it to the main floor before two men stepped into her path. Miss Hae-jin would like you to reconsider, one of them said. Miss Hae-jin can send me an email. This isn't a request. The wire under her necklace was transmitting everything. Jin-woo would be moving already. She just needed to stall. Touch me and you'll regret it, Amaris said clearly. Big threats from someone very alone. She's not alone. Jin-woo appeared behind the two men, like a very large, very angry ghost. Two other security personnel flanked him. The Cheongpa men looked at each other, calculating odds. Walk away, Jin-woo said quietly, while you still can. They walked away. Jin-woo put a hand on Amaris's shoulder. You okay? I'm fine. Let's get out of here. The ride back was silent. Amaris's hands were shaking now that the adrenaline was wearing off. She'd just gambled everything on a bluff, and somehow won. Or maybe not won. Maybe just delayed the inevitable. Hyun-jae was waiting at the penthouse when she arrived. He took one look at her face and pulled her into his arms. I heard everything, he said into her hair. You were incredible. And completely insane. But incredible. They wanted me to spy for them. I know. And you told them exactly where to go. I'm so proud of you and so furious you put yourself in that position. Couldn't help it. Danger is my new hobby, apparently. He pulled back, cupped her face in his hands. No more. No more danger. No more risks. Promise me. I can't promise that. Not while the mole is still active. Not while the Cheongpa think they can pressure me. Then we end it. Tonight. All of it. How? I have the activity logs Jin-woo pulled. After you left for the club, we found something. The monitoring software was installed on the shared network server, which means someone with IT admin access put it there. How many people have IT admin access? 3. And one of them accessed the server the same day Yoon's credentials were cloned. Who? Lee Min-ho. He's been our systems administrator for 8 years. Quiet, efficient, invisible. Why would he betray you? That's what we're about to find out. 20 minutes later, Amaris was watching through one-way glass as Hyun-jae, Jin-woo, and Ms. Kang sat across from a very nervous man in his late 30s. I didn't do anything, Min-ho said. His voice shook. We have your access logs, Ms. Kang said calmly. Time-stamped entry to the server room. Installation of monitoring software. 3 months of data collection, all traced back to your credentials. Someone must have stolen them, like they did with Secretary Yoon. Except Yoon's credentials were cloned remotely. Yours show physical access. Biometric scan. That's your fingerprint, Min-ho. The man's face crumpled. They have my daughter. The room went silent. Explain, Hyun-jae said quietly. The Cheongpa. 3 months ago they approached me. Said they knew where my daughter goes to school, what route she walks home. They showed me pictures. His voice broke. They said if I didn't help them, they'd take her. What was I supposed to do? You were supposed to come to me, Hyun-jae said. I protect my people. That includes their families. You would have fired me. Or worse. I would have moved your daughter to a secure location and dealt with the threat. Instead, you've been feeding intelligence to our enemies for 3 months. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what else to do. Hyun-jae stood up. Where is your daughter now? At home, with my wife. Jin-woo, send a security team, full protection detail. Move them to a safe house tonight. Min-ho looked up, shocked. You're protecting them? I don't punish children for their parents' mistakes. But you're done. You'll be escorted out of the country. New identity, new life, far away from Seoul. And if I ever see you again, the mercy ends. Understood? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Don't thank me. You betrayed everything I built. The only reason you're breathing is because you were coerced. Now get out of my sight. Jin Woo escorted Min Ho out. Ms. Kang gathered the files. Hyun-jae stood there for a long moment, staring at nothing. Amaris entered the room quietly. You did the right thing. Did I? He put everyone at risk. Because his daughter was threatened, you can't blame someone for trying to protect their child. He looked at her. Is that what you're doing? By pushing me away, trying to protect our child from me? I'm trying to protect our child from this world. There's a difference. What if I told you I'm trying to do the same thing? Then we're on the same side. Finally. Hyun-jae moved closer. The Cheongpa made you an offer to remove the baby from succession in exchange for information. I turned them down. I know. But what if we did it anyway? Removed the baby from succession. Legally. So they have nothing to leverage. Amaris frowned. Ms. Kang said the blood charter can't be amended without a full council vote. It can't be amended, but it can be circumvented. If I voluntarily step down from leadership before the baby is born, transfer control to someone else, then technically there's no succession to inherit. You would give up everything? For this baby? For you? For our child? For a chance at something that doesn't involve looking over my shoulder every second? Amaris's throat tightened. That's a huge sacrifice. Or it's the smartest thing I've ever done. I've been running this organization for 10 years. I'm tired, Amaris. I'm tired of the violence and the politics and the constant threat. Maybe it's time for something different. What would you even do? I don't know. Figure it out. With you. If you'll let me. She wanted to say yes. Wanted to believe they could actually build something real together. There's still the Cheongpa, she said. They won't just let this go. No, they won't. Which is why we're going to give them something better than you or the baby. What could possibly be better? Hyun-jae smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Proof that they've been conducting illegal operations through shell corporations that violate international trade law. The kind of proof that gets entire leadership structures arrested and dismantled. You have that proof? I've been collecting it for 2 years, waiting for the right moment. This feels like the right moment. You're going to destroy them? I'm going to remove them as a threat, permanently. Amaris thought about it. When? Tomorrow. I'll deliver the evidence to the authorities. By tomorrow night, the Cheongpa Brotherhood will be too busy dealing with international investigations to worry about us. And then what? And then I step down, transfer leadership to someone I trust, and we figure out what comes next, together. You're really serious about this. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. Amaris looked at him. This man who had been a stranger 8 months ago, who had become something complicated and important without her permission, who was now offering to give up an empire for a chance at something real. Okay, she said quietly. Okay? Okay, let's try. Let's figure this out together. No contracts, no terms, just us. Hyun-jae's expression transformed, relief and hope and something that looked a lot like love. Us, he repeated. I like the sound of that. Don't make me regret this. I'll try my best not to. He reached for her hand. She let him take it. There's something else, Amaris said. Something I need to tell you. I'm listening. I'm scared. Of all of this. Of being a mother. Of bringing a child into this mess. Of what happens if we can't make this work. I'm scared too. You don't look scared. I'm very good at hiding it. Years of practice. What scares you most? Hyunjae was quiet for a moment. That I'll fail you, both of you. That I'll try to do the right thing and mess it up anyway, because I don't know how to be anything other than what I've been. What have you been? Controlled, closed off. Someone who solves problems with power instead of, I don't know, actual human connection. You're connecting right now. Seems like you know how to do it fine. With you, it's different. You make it easier. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. I have a lot of nice things I've been saving up. Didn't feel right to say them when you were contractually obligated to listen. Amaris laughed. Actually laughed. So you waited until I had a completely different reason to feel obligated? Is carrying my baby really an obligation? Depends on the day. Today it feels more like a complication with potential. Potential for what? For something good. Maybe. If we don't screw it up. No pressure then. None at all. They stood there, hands linked, the whole messy, complicated future stretching out in front of them. I should sleep, Amaris said. It's been the longest day of my life. Mine too. Will you? Will you stay? Just for tonight? I don't want to be alone. Hyunjae's eyes softened. I'll stay as long as you want me to. Careful. That might be a very long time. Promise? We'll see. Ask me again tomorrow. He walked her to her room, stopped at the doorway. Amaris? Yeah? Thank you. For coming back. For giving this a chance. For not running when you had every reason to. Thank you for not making me regret it. Yet. I'll take that as a challenge. She closed the door and leaned against it, hand on her stomach. You hear that? She whispered to the baby that was barely more than a cluster of cells. Your father is either the best or worst decision I've ever made. We'll find out which together. The next day moved like a storm. Hyunjae delivered the evidence to 3 separate agencies. International Trade Commission, Financial Crimes Unit, Interpol. By noon, warrants were being issued. By 3 p.m., arrests were being made. By evening, the Cheongpa Brotherhood's entire leadership structure was in custody or fleeing the country. Amaris watched it unfold from the penthouse, news reports streaming across multiple screens. You destroyed them in 6 hours, she said, when Hyunjae came home. I destroyed their operational capacity. The organization itself will fracture and rebuild eventually, but it won't be my problem anymore. Because you're stepping down. Tomorrow, the council meets tomorrow. I'll announce my successor and transfer control officially. Who are you giving it to? Jinwoo. He's loyal, smart, and has no interest in expansion or war. He'll keep things stable and quiet. Exactly what's needed. How does he feel about that? Terrified. But he'll do it, out of duty if nothing else. Amaris moved to the window. Seoul sprawled below, millions of lights in the darkness. What happens to us now? She asked. Hyunjae came to stand beside her. What do you want to happen? I want to raise this baby somewhere safe. Somewhere they can just be a kid without blood charters and succession laws. Where would that be? I don't know. Paris, maybe. Or Lagos. Somewhere far from all of this. And me? Where do I fit in that picture? Amaris turned to look at him. Where do you want to fit? Anywhere you'll have me. Paris, Lagos, the moon. I don't care as long as I'm with you. That's very romantic. I'm trying this new thing where I say what I actually feel. It's uncomfortable, but apparently healthy. She smiled. How's that working out? Not sure yet. Depends on what you say next. Amaris took a breath. I want you there, with us, not because of obligation or duty or guilt, but because I want you there. That's all I needed to hear. He kissed her then. soft and careful and full of promise. She kissed him back and thought, this is real now. This is actually real. When they pulled apart, she was smiling. What? He asked. I'm just thinking about how absolutely insane this all is. 6 weeks ago, I was signing divorce papers. Now I'm pregnant and planning a life with you in a different country. Too fast? Way too fast. But also somehow exactly right. I'll take it. 3 months later, Amaris stood in a small apartment in Paris. Not the same one she'd run to before. A different one. Bigger. With a second bedroom for the baby. Hyunjae was in the kitchen making breakfast. Badly. The smoke alarm had gone off twice already. I'm ordering food, she called out. I almost have it. You're burning eggs. That's impressive in the worst way. He appeared in the doorway, looking sheepish. Cooking is harder than running a criminal empire. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. I'm developing new skills. Give me time. Amaris walked over and kissed him. We have time, lots of it. Good, because I'm going to need years to figure out how to make eggs properly. Her phone buzzed, a message from Ms. Kang. The blood charter petition was approved. Your child has been legally removed from succession. It's official. Amaris showed Hyunjae the message. He read it and smiled. We're free, he said. We're free. She placed his hand on her stomach. 5 months now. Starting to show. You feel that? She asked. Is that the baby? Kicking. Hyunjae's expression was pure wonder. That's our baby. That's our baby. They stood there in their Paris apartment, smoke alarms still beeping from the burned eggs, and Amaris thought about how much had changed, how much she'd changed. 6 months ago she'd been so sure about what she wanted. Freedom. Independence. A clean exit. Now she had something better, something messier and more complicated and infinitely more real. I love you, Hyunjae said quietly. I should have said it months ago, but I was too afraid. I love you too, even though you can't cook, and you're overly protective and you have terrible timing. Terrible timing? You're telling me you love me while eggs are burning and the smoke alarm is screaming. I can have romantic moments. I just need practice. Lucky for you, we have time for that too. He kissed her forehead. What do you want to do today? I want to walk along the Seine, eat pastries that I definitely shouldn't have. Maybe look at baby furniture, even though we have 4 months until the due date. That sounds perfect. Yeah? Yeah. Amaris looked around the apartment. Their apartment. Not a penthouse, not a contract, just a space they were building together. Outside, Paris was waking up. Inside, a baby was growing. And between them, something that had started as a business arrangement had become the most real thing either of them had ever known. Hey, she said. Hey, what? Thank you. For what? For following me to Paris. For giving up everything. For being here. Hyunjae pulled her close. You're thanking me for getting the best thing that ever happened to me. That's backwards. Maybe we're both lucky then. Definitely both lucky. The smoke alarm finally stopped beeping. The morning sun streamed through the windows, and Amaris Diallo, former contract wife turned actual partner, placed her hand on her growing belly and smiled. She'd been paid $6 million to sign a divorce, only to discover she was pregnant with a baby that would inherit nothing except 2 parents who were finally figuring out how to love each other without contracts or terms or exit clauses. It wasn't the ending she'd planned. It was better. Come on, she said, pulling Hyunjae toward the door. Let's go look at baby cribs. We don't need cribs yet. I want to look anyway. You're going to be one of those prepared parents, aren't you? You're going to be one of those overprotective parents. Fair point. They walked out into Paris together, hand in hand, and the future stretched out ahead of them. Uncertain, unplanned, and absolutely perfect. Behind them in the apartment, Amaris's phone buzzed one more time. A message from Secretary Yoon in Seoul. "Congratulations on the baby, and on your freedom. You both earned it. Take care of each other." She would read it later. Right now, she had pastries to eat, and cribs to look at, and a whole new life to build. One without contracts. One with just love. And honestly, that was worth more than $6 million ever could be. All right. We've reached the end of Amaris and Hyunjae's story, and I hope you felt every single moment of it. The fear, the hope, the butterflies, all of it. If this story grabbed you, if you found yourself rooting for them, do me one last favor. Subscribe to this channel, because we're just getting started. More stories are coming that'll make you feel things you didn't expect. More characters who'll get under your skin. More drama that'll keep you up at night. Hit that subscribe button and join this community.